Hi, lovelies. How are we doing? Uh, I'm so sorry. It's been a minute here. Life has just been lifing, to be honest. And life has gotten a bit busy somewhat, but no. Nevertheless, we move. We keep moving. Now we keep going, and we show up regardless. So, and besides, I've been in a reading slump for I think for the past we're in the third week of the month now. Yeah, so since the beginning of the month actually, I haven't read any book this month. Okay, just one, and I wouldn't even call it a book. It's just I was misinformed. I feel weird and hot that I stayed through to finish the book. So I won't necessarily call it me reading a book. Aside finishing one particular book that I started in was it last month, and it just went over. But other than that, I haven't really picked up a book this month. I've just been in a reading slump. Just I haven't had the desire just to read anything. And it's not even like that. I have like on I have some books in my TBR. There's a particular book set that I have. I think I mentioned it in one of the episodes that I got a book for as a birthday gift. And I've been on the search for this book for ages, for a long time. And when I finally got the book, I was so excited about it. But I wanted to take out time or just take my time to read it. One thing because it's a fiction, an historical fiction, a war fiction, and I haven't read it for a while now. I've been lucky to be able to get those books, and I've been reading them back to back of late. I've been reading them back to back. So I've come to realize that one thing about war fiction, historical fiction, is that if you're not careful, if you're not in the right state of mind, where your mind is really, should I call it comported, or just is right there, if it doesn't come off as boring to you, if it just messes with your mind in a way, those emotions, that story, that raw pain, the grief, the sadness that is always that accompanies those kind of books, it just it does things to you, and sometimes could even mess you up in a way. So I try to be in a good state of mind and to just be settled whenever I want to read them, and I've just been keeping it and saving it that whenever I feel more settled and life is not screaming all up in my head, or I'm not so overwhelmed by things, that I will just take my time to read it. But anyways, it happens. This we're already in the first half of the year, so I think it's normal. I do have that slump, that reading slump, 2 or 3 times in a year. So it's actually pretty normal for someone who reads a lot. It happens a lot. It's been affecting me, and I feel guilty about not reading. I feel guilty a little bit. But anyway, Sha, that's just that about that. So today, I don't know. I just want. I feel like talking about one of my, should I say, one of my comfort genres. I'm not sure I mentioned it the day I spoke about books and my type of books or books that I love reading, but it falls under my comfort genres. And one of the reasons why I even came up with is that anytime I feel overwhelmed, or when I just need I need my world to settle, I just need a sense of calm, and I need that sense of calm from books, or I need the comfort that books grant me. I read this type of books. They are English books, and that was why I just thought with that maybe I should just talk about Amish people. Like they are one of the, should I say, one of the, their top, or rather they are one of the people, or talking about Amish, or just the Amish society as a whole, is one topic. I'm so sorry. That's a lot of rambling. But anyways, Amish people, their one topic, their community and all of those is one that really interests me. And no matter how much I read about them or learn about them, or just gather information about them, it just never seems to be enough. I just keep drinking from the well of the things I learned from them. So I was like, you know what, I might as well just talk about them today, because they are not necessarily popular. I feel like a lot of people don't even know them. And for those that might know, maybe just casually heard about them. Me myself, I didn't know about them until like I think 3 years ago. So you could even say recent sef. So they aren't so popular, or maybe people don't just put their mind to them and all of those things. So yeah, we are talking about the Amish. I've been trying to Google search, is it Amish people or the Amish? But anyways, I might be interchanging them, in the course of the this episode. So the Amish or the Amish people. Yeah. So the Amish people are just a religious group, but majorly traditional, and the traditional Christian communities, and they are characterized by their simple living, plain dresses, and mainly being resistant to elements of modern technology, I think modernization as a whole self. I think that's one of the things that those three things are what people would easily identify them with. If someone were to mention image, they'd be, no, you don't know them. Those communities, they're simple, plain living, and basically the fact that, or majorly the fact that they resist, or they are resistant to modernization, modern technology, and all of that. So, quick backstory or quick background, or let's just say quick history about the Amish people. So, the Amish people, should I call them, should I say they originated, or their founder rather was Jacob Amman? Hence the Amish, the name, the name, I mean, that was how they coined the name Amish, from the founder, the originator, or person that started it all, Jacob Amman. And they have their roots the Anabaptism, back to Anabaptism. So Anabaptism is a Christian movement, and it began around the 16th century, the 1600s, and it was around the same time that Martin Luther King, and other Protestant reformers, that reformation period. So basically, Anabaptism means rebaptizer, and there are major, should I say, what anabaptism means, or why who they are, is just that they reject baptism of infants. They should I say, they came from the Catholics. They 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 had their roots, rather. They were Catholics, yes, they were Catholics that reformed and rejected the baptism of infants. They had the belief that it was only adults who consciously chose to follow Christ that should be baptized. So that was why they were called Anna, that is adult baptism, rebaptism. Catholics, I don't know what age, to be honest, but I know they from infant, or at least maybe like 3 or 6 months. I didn't really check. That's when Catholics baptized it. Maybe it's the first baptism or thereabout. But I know that from infanthood, the Catholics baptize children, the infants. So the Anabaptists, they rejected that idea that the only person, or the group of people, of before the time a person should be baptized, is when the person is old enough, the person is an adult, and can consciously choose to follow Christ. That's when said person should be baptized. And they had their, should I say, convener, or their founder as well. Their founder was Menu Simon. So he was the one that started the convening, just like Martin Luther, for Reformation and for the Protestants. So basically, the Amish people have they trace back to to Anabaptism. They have that trace back to they are called, those Anabaptists, the first set, the ones that first rejected Catholics belief, or Catholics doctrines of baptizing infants. They were called the Mennonites. They coined the name also from Menno Simons. That was the convener. So they coined that name from them. They coined that name from his name. They coined the name Mennonite from Menno Simon's name, just like the Amish were coined from Jacob Ammons. So and I think when it got to the 1693, Jacob Annan, like I said earlier, that one of the characterization, or one of the major key or beliefs of the Amish is that they are resistant to modernization, modern technology, anything that that gives modern, they're resistant to it. So one of the reason why they moved away, or should I say they departed, wasn't anything much other than the fact that Jacob said to see believe that the Mennonites were being too lenient. They were beginning to accept some things, some modernization. They were being a tad, let's say, compromising. So that was when they now decided to leave, the Mennonite, and they became the Amish. It's nothing, there isn't really much of a difference. You could call the Amish the more, should I say, conservative, the more conservative Mennonites. So yeah, you could call them that. They are the more conservative ones. When they saw that the Mennonites were being too lenient in their beliefs, or were compromising on some of the things that they felt that should stay as foundation, shouldn't shake, shouldn't, should stay strong, should stay the way as it is. So that was when they left, and they started their own community, and they became the Amish. And as, should I say, a little bit, should I say, maybe conservative as they might seem, or they are safe. It's not that they might seem, they actually are conservative. Some of the things that they emphasize on as a religion, as a community, really are strong beliefs and strong values. Like, they emphasize community over individualism. They are your typical example of, there is no I in a team, it's just we. So there isn't an I, it's a we kind of community. There is not, because already they don't even have so much. They just all they have, all they live by is by their basics. What do we need? It's just basic things that we need. So they emphasize, and they believe in community over individualism. Also, they are also a pacifist community and a non-violent community. And probably later, or as we go, we'll talk about some of their major settlements in the world. But I don't have enough research or data that backs it up. It's just something I've come to notice ever since following news about them, or just reading up about them. Basically, is that the places where they settle in are one of the places with the least violence in the world generally. They don't, there really isn't much violence, or strawful, and all of those with them. In fact, the moment there is someone that, and we'll talk about that too, the moment there is someone who is beginning to, should I say, rebel, or is beginning to not accept their rules or their beliefs, you have the opportunity to just, to go, to walk away. So they believe in non-violence and pacifism. And also, I think another reason why conservation is not, is a term that you can really easily coin to them, is also the fact that they literally interpret the Bible. They literally interpret the Bible, and also the fact that they emphasize on the need of for the spirit of humility, calmness, and yielding to God's will. One thing I've come to notice in most books that I've read about the Amish people, the Amish, be it fiction, non-fiction, is that they don't even necessarily have to spell it out in the book. From if it's a fiction, the story that is being told, or if it's a non-fiction, whatever the person, maybe if it's a memoir or something, there is that key, that feature in every one of their story. No one, there is no need for it to be spelled out to you that, oh, their life centers around being humble, being calm, and totally yielding to God's will. It's just very obvious to you as the reader or the researcher, or even I think there's some of their videos on YouTube stuff where they grant interviews for the ones that allow interviews. You can always tell from from all of those things that that's the major center, that's one of the things they center their lives around. So some of their ways of life, like we mentioned earlier, is that they reject technology. They reject it. There is no electricity. They just go, let's say, you could say they go old school, and they travel by a buggy. Yeah, I was so shocked the first time I read the book. And then I kept seeing buggy, and I didn't know what it meant. So I went to check it, and I was like, wow. So there are things like this that still exist. It's like a horse. They travel by horse, or by foot by horse, or a little compartment attached to the horse. That's what they call a buggy. And it does seem, I don't know what word to use, but I was really fascinated the first time I saw it. And also, yes, their dialect. When I first when I first took a book to read it, I was really confused too, but I could almost sense, I was not even really sure until I checked, but I could almost sense that it was not fully German and it was not fully English too. So they speak a mixture of German and English, like you will see good. That good means good, or like you are saying yes. So some phrases like that I see, from some books that I've read. So their dialect is a mixture of English and German. Also their education, they don't really go through educations like that. Education stops at the eighth grade, both for male and female. And then after that eighth grade, everyone practice goes for to learn a vocational, a practical trade. And their life also, I've come to read, in fact, every their life is centered around farming, faith, and family. Farming, that is their major vocation, and they have large expanse of land, large ones. And another way where community comes in handy for them is that they help each other out. Maybe this person has a corn farm, another family has a, let's say, potato farm, another one has a rice farm. So they've just grown over time to be able to inter-exchange, help each other, and be there for each other. I think it's one of the beauty of the community, the Amish community as a whole. I just love their sentiment and their value, how they value simplicity. They are not bothered about the necessary vain things. Almost everything in this life is vain. If you really think about it, that big man job you want, in some ways vain. Wanting to look the prettiest is vain. Wanting to be there's a lot. Life is in itself. When you read the book of Ecclesiastes, the preacher will tell you that everything is vanity upon vanity. Life in itself, a lot of things, or most of the things in life is just vain, but some are necessary vanity. That's how I like to say it. I'll be like, there are some things that they are vanity, but they are necessary vanity. Like, it's a necessary vain thing. So with the Amish, a lot of things that we count as important, or is a necessity for me to have it, they are vain to them, so they don't really need it. They just need a simple dress. And there's this, forgotten the name of the cap that the sisters they wear, and the men wear a straw, like a straw hat kind of things, their boots, and they are good to go. To be honest, they are good to go. There is no competition, there is no need to look more than you look, there is no need to adjust your features, there is no need to correct things that might necessarily not need correction. They just live basically, simply, basking in their love and obedience, their desire to obey and to yield to God's will, loving themselves as a family, and just provide and being able to provide for their daily needs. From some of the books I've read, there are times they do need things outside of the community, or maybe medical needs where they have to pay money. So they sell some of the things that they have, like for those that are in farming. I think they sell in farmers market, and for other vocations, like they are very crafty and very, very creative. Very, very, I've come to realize too that over my research or personal research that they make really creative things, whether they are knitting, they are woven back. They have such creative and craftiness. So when times comes or maybe issues arises where they need finances to finance things outside of the community, those are, I think they sell all of those things in the market, and that's when it's really necessary. Sometimes they even pull in money from some of the things that I've read. They pull in money. That's where community also comes in. They pull in money. If this person has this and someone needs this, they give it out. So that's how they take care of needs that supersede, that are not so basic, that maybe medical bills or other really like necessary things that is outside of the basic. So yeah, so that's our community. I think I love that sense of community, how it comes in. No one necessarily owns something. The moment someone else needs it, the moment someone else is in need of it, they give it out. You need it, I have it, take it. You are my brother, you are my sister, you are my family. And I think they are majorly settled in the US. Even most of the books that I've read is mostly centered around Lancaster County, also in Ohio. So it's just mostly in the US. I think there is a not so large percentage of them also found in Canada, just small community. I'm not sure it's that large, but it's majorly in Lancaster County in the US and Ohio, and I think Iowa, as well as probably Missouri and Kentucky. I think I've seen some. I've also seen that there are some too in Wisconsin, but majorly their major settlement is in Lancaster County and Ohio. That's where they are majorly settled in. So for the Amish, we have the old order Amish and the new order Amish. Is still the same thing. The old order, even from this hearing the name self, you can almost guess that one necessarily the old order, the more stricter, the less yielding types, the less yielding ones, although they are the largest group, sha. And then the new order image, they are still a little lenient. They accept, a little technology, maybe public phone, electricity, just little here and there, but not necessarily. But the old order image that the more stricter ones that they don't necessarily compromise at all on their rules and their beliefs and what they believe in. So but the old order image, they are still the most populated and still the ones with the more, you know yeah, the most populated and the large. They have more communities than new order image. I think I'm sure it's going to seem odd that I'm talking about image. I think I mentioned it as when I was starting that whenever life gets too overwhelming, or life just feels like it's going way too fast for me, or I've been reading, a lot of fast paced books and just thrillers, psychological thrillers, crimes, and all of those, and I just need a bit. I just need life to slow down, or I just need I need a slow, something that comforts me in a slow manner. I just go and read Amish. That was Amish books. That is, I just go and read them. That was even what brought about the idea that, you know what, let me just talk about them. I just they are a group, they interest me a lot. I find them really fascinating. So that was really what brought about talking about themselves this afternoon, that they just they are my comfort. Image books are my comfort books. They are so slow paced that sometimes, I mean, a book that would, in if it were a normally paced book, that would probably take me a day, at most 2 days. I might take a week to read it, because it's slow and just evenly paced, and there's just so much about it. And it almost close to reading the Bible, because when you see how they center their life, there's no other thing that their life centers on other than God, faith, family, and maybe family. Yeah, because that's their major, the major occupation, or how they survive. And it just makes me, should I say, happy, even in a way, that in a world that seems so fast paced, in a world that is filled with so much vain, in a world that is filled with so much unsettlement, unrest, war, crime, all of those negative things. There are people or their communities in this modern day, not like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, in this modern day, that are just back to the roots. They're back to the roots of life and everything. I think I saw a trend on Twitter, on X. Okay, it's X now. I saw a trend on X about the advantages of the Amish people, their lifestyle. So, how they are how they barely have health issues, and just about 2 or 1% of their population have obesity issue. Yeah, that was the major headline, that how, like, just maybe 2 or 3% of their whole total population battle or suffers from obesity, because one of how they are able to get exercise daily. I mentioned that their major transportation route is through walking, horse, or the buggy. So how they are able to, all of their going and comings, there are no cars, no trains. It's just their horse, their buggy, or they are legging it. And how they eat their food products are directly from the source. No additives, no preservatives. It's just fresh and all of that. And the essence of their life, there isn't no late, they wake up as at a normal time, 5. I think the trend talked about them waking up 4, 5 o'clock, and nature's time, and they are asleep. They don't have the electricity. So the moment it's getting dark, everyone knows that, yes, the day is over, to retire. 9 o'clock, everyone is back to bed. So they get enough of rest. All of those things. This isn't verbatim. I'm not even doing justice to this thread. And with the way I'm saying, it's just a summary of, the advantage or the benefits of their lifestyle on their overall population. The population. As a person, one of my lives, or should I say my fantasy, I won't call it a dream or goal or wish, but one of my fantasy is to live like that, to live behind civilization, to live modernization, to leave all of this craziness, all of this war, politics, to just leave it all behind, and just settle into nature. Just wake at the appropriate time, sleep at the appropriate time, and be rid of so much worries. So much worries, like, worries, so much cares. Because as much as a lot of things is nice, to have nice things, nice clothes, nice house, a good looking house, good machines, for cars, to have really good paying jobs. It all boils down to basic human need: being able to feed, to eat good food, get good sleep, and live in a comfortable house, a comfortable abode. That's all of these are running now to and fro, our ambition, and all of this life or living. It all comes down to those basic things: clothes, food, shelter. That's the basics. It all boils down, and faith. Yes, faith. But I'm talking about in a more physical need. It all boils down to those three things: good, not eating, good shelter, and good clothes. And the English people, they have all of those. Have all of those, and the contentment that comes with living like that. You would, as someone as we that live in such fast in a like in a fast paced world, in a world that is so fast paced and characterized by a lot of things, a lot of environmental factors, and all of those. Sometimes you just keep imagining or looking to yourself that, and they are content with living life that way. You would think about, when I first started reading about them, I would imagine living in a world where there are no TVs, no cables, no Instagram, no X, no LinkedIn, no, and what else is Snapchat, TikTok, no phones, no cars. That you are not in competition with anybody. You are the person living next to you is wearing similar clothes as you are. The person the person living two houses close to you is wearing similar clothes as you are. Like, there's no competition with anybody. You are not looking to oppress or depress or suppress anybody. You all look the same. You all wear similar clothing. And the beautiful thing is, there is no different type of churches. Oh. There is just a place where you all commune as Christians. There aren't like three positions you hold. I think they just have one most times. Just one person, one head of the church. They could call the person a preacher, they could call the person a bishop, whichever one. There's just one person. Although maybe they could take you could take different aspects of, let's say, different aspect of the program. Let's call it a church for simplicity's sake. Maybe they sing the hymns together, they share their testimonies together. There isn't that, oh, today is this type of church, there's this another denomination. No, it's just one. They have a place where that is reserved for coming together to worship, to sing their hymns, to listen to the word. And one thing I like about should I say their Christianity, or yeah, see, that's the English like this. I like about their fellowship. Yes, fellowship is the word. Is that literal interpretation of the Bible. They believe in salvation. They believe in the grace, salvation that was brought about by the death and resurrection of Jesus. The grace. In fact, they are just like they are exactly who a normal Christian is. Just a more traditionalist and a more conservative type. That's all. The only thing that I might say that, that might come, that because all the as sweet as it is, and it's really nice to read about it. Unless you wouldn't know otherwise, unless one is living that life, one is living in those community, has lived there, or at the very most, someone who has experienced it. So you might not, I can say all of this, all that I'm saying, all that I'm talking about is just based off of research and having read their books for quite a long time. But the only thing that I'll say that really hurts me or disappoints me, or maybe that might seem like the bad, is the shunning. It's called the shunning. That is when say excommunicate, is that the word, where they exit, or should I say exile? Yeah, let me use the word exile for simplicity's sake. Where they exile someone who begins to rebel, or who isn't comfortable with with the rules and the orders of the Amish. I think what they do when you get to a certain age, I think 16 or 18, they allow you to weigh your options for, like, I think, was it for a year or some months. They allow you to have, oh my goodness, I should have really checked this. I've forgotten the name. They allow you to check, to, it's like, weigh your options, test the waters, do what you want. Although to a certain limit, there are boundaries to it, but basically you are free to some extent. And after that year, or after that period of your time is passed, then they take your oath in a way. I think it's the oath taking ceremony. They do call it that, to the community, where you pledge that yes, you are aware, you know of it, of the rules and the guidelines and the orders of the Amish. And if you're willing, to live by those orders, and to live by those rules and commandments and all of those, and if you decide that it's not working for you, it's not good enough for you, or you just, it's just not what you want for your life, you are shunned. You'll be asked to leave, never to return again. So you can't necessarily come back. And in a way, it might seem really, in fact, it is quite harsh, but in a way, I can almost understand it, because I think that's the one way they've been able to preserve the essence of their community, and the essence of their lore, of what really makes them the Amish. Like, that's the only way to preserve it. It's not a do or die affair. If you don't want to leave, it's not compulsory. You are not forced. That way, it won't even feel like a cult. Sometimes some of these religious communities, when you look deep into it, or when you read documentaries and interviews of people, or people that have lived the lives and been able to come out of it, they will tell you that, it's like a cult, it's one thing, one thing, one thing, one thing. So I think that way even makes it, when they are, you are able to say that, no, I'm not interested, this is not the life I would want or would like to live. You are able to live. That way, it's not a cult. It's not. It doesn't seem, or it doesn't end up being a cult. It's a way. It seems harsh. It is harsh, but it's a way that they've come. I think that it's a way for them to preserve their rules and the essence of their community. So I think the first time I was introduced to it, I was very shocked. It was my book vendor, but though now she's more like a sister. She was the first person that introduced it to me, and she was like, she believes that I'm going to love, Amish books, that she loves them too, and she thinks I would. And she was right. They are not exactly they are not my daily, or I don't read them daily, and or they are every time. Most times I read them when I just need something to fall back on. It's like a safe haven. I know that if things get so overwhelming, I have a place, in a way, to just seek comfort, and of a feeling of fellowship, in a way, or community. I don't know how to explain it. I feel a lot of things with books that would seem odd to an average person, but that's how I feel about them. No matter how many books or less books is in my TBR, I always have at least one unread English book. At least there is always one. And the beautiful thing, that should I call it beautiful stuff, is that they are very, very scarce. I don't think I see them in Nigerian book markets like that. If at all, if you even see at all, they are mostly sold by Christian fiction vendors that sell strictly Christian fiction or non-fiction books. It's barely. I've not seen. I hardly ever see them being sold by a random person. by a random person. It's really, really rare. They're very rare books. I don't see them so often. So, anyways, I'm intending that today's episode won't be so long or too long. I've just missed speaking to you guys or talking about something, and I was like, why not share my my love for Amish books or the Amish communities. And there's so much more to them. To be honest, I could go on and define and speak, and I'll just keep talking. I really find their life fascinating, and to be able to take such a bold stance in this world that we are in, that takes a lot of courage and bravery, and knowing who you believe in. To be able to say, oh, this is the norm. I know this is the norm. I see this is the norm, but I'm breaking away. I'm not interested in it. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery, and I think that's what I love. Anyone who could picture it, Google it. They are very, very. You see them, even their dress sense is way not. Is not even. It doesn't follow the norm at all. It doesn't follow. The normal dress sense, be it for the male or the female. So to take such a stance and still be rooted in it in this modern day, in this day and age, imagine aside from probably tribalistic or people in the Amazon. Imagine a community that knows of modern technology but still, you know, are not are not are not involved or refuse to live their lives based on those kind of rules. It takes a lot of bravery and courage to stand on those grounds, and this is how we want to live. Just loving ourselves, loving our community, being humble, relying totally on God's will for us, interpreting the Bible as it is written and not based on how we want it or how we would love it to be. And just loving ourselves and our family. It's one of the reasons too why I think they give birth to a lot of children. Family is very the core of their beliefs is families around family faith, and let's say farming too. That's the major from all that I've read. That is what I would say. Their their core is around those three things: family, faith, farming. The basis of their living, of their beliefs, and it makes sense. And I believe that's the basics of life, anyways. I know today's today's episode feels like I know today's episode seems like or feels like a teaching a class or something. I mean, it does feel like that to me, and I did try my very best to not make it look so generic, but just more conversational. But I really each time I read it, I pick an English book. I'm in awe, really. Or I just find it so fascinating, and I wanted to share my fascination with you guys. So yeah, basically. So I think next episode I'll just review one of their books. Just one that stayed with me. I think it was the first English book I ever read. I'll just talk about it, and we'll review it. We are doing it together, it's not just me. Well, anyways, enough of my rambling. So yeah, drawing the curtains for today. Bye.